I'm Tom Barrett, and it's February the 6th, 2013, and we're in the parlor at Mackin House, and I'm talking to Dawn and Helen Turner.
Yeah.
So,
You-
understand?
Yeah,
Sorry?
right. You can't, like a lot of people know him by Joe Don, so you can.
Okay,
Yeah.
Joe Dawn Turner.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I got the name because everybody.
Okay.
Keep everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So you're both lived almost all your lives in Coquitlam?
Yes, Helen came. Well, Helen came with her mother. She was born here. I wasn't. I was born in Drumheller, Alberta, in 1933, and my mom and dad and the other five, brothers and sisters came when I was 1 year old, 1934, and that's when we lived at the corner of Austin and the Mountain. Well, not the corner house, but one over.
Mm-hmm.
And Helen, Helen was born in 1933, and her mother came out here with her father in 1910 when she was 4 years old. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was brought out here to be blacksmith at Fraser Mills when the horses and all that were pulling the stuff around. And you walked from when you came to school. You walked. You went to the French.
I went
Yeah.
to
You go ahead.
Lady of Lords.
The Lady of Lords.
Is that Lady of Lords
School?
there?
Well, yeah,
No,
right
the
within the
farm.
square though. That one in the
By-
square.
By Cartier Street. What's that one called? Lady of Lords, I think
Yeah,
it
at
is.
the church, yeah.
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 I went there for a while, and then I went to Millside School after that.
Yeah, and you walked all the way from Austin, right through the gully,
Bush.
and right down to school every day.
I would
But you
meet-
could do that then, and you didn't have to be afraid of anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But now, oh God, you can't
And
even
I'd
go
meet
to you can't even go to a
men
mall.
coming from Fraser Mills walking up. They'd walk through the trail to get up to Austin, up that way.
Okay, tell them anything else you want about.
Yeah, tell about the house you lived in.
Yeah, well,
Oh, that was really nice. My
Yeah.
grandpa made this log cabin, and it was quite big because my mom and dad separated and I had to go live there, so it was interesting for me. He had a room at the back where they'd have dances. They'd all come up, and, all the relations would get, there was a bunch of us. They'd all get together and they'd have a dance. And us kids,
Yeah.
my brother and I, my youngest brother, we'd hide underneath the table to watch everything going on. It's quite interesting.
Who would
Yeah.
play the music for the dance?
well,
They,
well,
they would have, I don't know who
well, here's
they
the thing.
were, but they were.
There used to be a lot of house parties those days,
They
and
could
we used to
play
have them too. But you could,
violin,
I mean,
they played
anybody
violin.
could sing. Like my dad, he's a Welshman, and my mother was born in Liverpool, and you just sing. You put a record on or something, or just sing without any music at all. Like he'd sing "Old Man River," and "My Wild Irish Rose" and stuff like that. Everybody'd dance and drink, but it was a lot of fun. And
Yeah, my uncle played the piano,
yeah.
and they had piano, and they had a violin and guitar.
Okay, and then eventually, not that too long, they built a what was that little thing they built? Kind of like you could go and dance there. What do you call that?
Well, it was a hall. This
A
was
hall.
the back of the house.
Coquitlam Hall, right, almost right
Oh.
across from
Oh,
where.
you're talking about the old Coquitlam dance hall.
Yeah. Oh, I was on the south side, and I remember going there as a little kid and watching everybody, and it was scary.
Me too.
Everybody getting stoned, but you would have fun, and it would, there wasn't that many people in Coquitlam then, but it was cool. It was called the Coquitlam, yeah,
Then,
The south side of Austin, was that?
yeah. It was on the south side of Austin, up by up almost across from you, up a little higher than yeah. I remember that, and then after you went to Millside, Then she went. There was another school, like grade 1 up to 6, called Central School, and that was at the corner of Nelson and Austin, called Central School, and it was that's where I went to grade 1, and Miss Custance, I remember that was the name of the teacher. Oh no, Mrs. Stewart. In fact, Mr. McVeigh and Mr. Stewart, they just passed away, and they taught you in grade 1 and me in grade 1, and we even have from school our
Reports?
the report cards in grade 1, and that was really cool. And anyways, we lived at the corner, as I say, of Alabama, and when we played hide and go seek, you know what we'd do? We'd go and climb up 150-foot fir trees because nothing was there. Like my friend Lee Thompson, I can't remember what happened yesterday, but I know what happened when he moved out here from Ontario. Him and his parents. They moved right across from us. Of course, it was all forest. And guess what? They lived in a tent until they could have the house built.
Wow.
For 2 or 3, yeah, no kidding. They lived in a tent. Mind you, it was a wooden floor and wooden sides up to here. Yeah. We used to have them invite them over and stuff like that. And the other thing we used to do, you know where the church is at the corner of Austin and the Mountain, that church? Well, that used to be a gravel pit, okay?
Really?
Real gravel until they used all the gravel up. And then they used it to collect water in it, and they used it as a dump. And anyways, the police, they used to go down there, use a target shoot down there. They built this kind of thing of wood, planks, filled it full of sand each side, and they target shoot. And we'd hear them target shooting, say great. And when they left, we'd go down there, and we'd dig all there was lead, and there was also copper. The lead would splatter, but the copper wouldn't. And then they had silver bullets, silver casings, and they'd leave them laying around. We'd get the silver casings and get the copper one, put them in. They looked like real bullets, and we used to put them in. We used to put them in our thing. And in fact, then when we got a little older, we'd go down there with an axe and just chop the thing and take the whole thing home and dig about. But that was cool. And then when we got a little older, the guy in the corner, Otto Burian, I've got a photograph. He died in the war. He was a little older than me. He built a paddle boat, a flat bottom paddle boat. We used to paddle this thing around in the water. And
You skated there, didn't you?
and anyways, then we used to the golf course. One day, I guess I was about 6 or 7. I was wandering through the forest, and I found it. I come across the golf course. Wow! So then I started finding golf balls, and I still have them. The ones I first found, you should see them. They're rotten. When I found it, because you'd have to dig down to find them. But anyways, one day I'm scrounging for golf balls, and I meet this gentleman in the bush. And he had a scar. What you doing here, laddie? I'm scrounging for golf balls. Yeah, how old are you? I said, I'm 8. You can't be on the golf course. You get off the golf course, you come back at 10, you caddy, and you get off right now. Yes, sir. So I sneaked on for 2 more years, and then I went and caddied when I was 10 years old. And I'll remember my first caddy day. I'm in there, and Don Sutherland, he was the pro, but he worked down on the time office at Fraser Mills. But he would be the pro in the weekend and in the evening. And anyways, so I came back at 10 years old, and they had built a huge like a wire compound for the caddies, because they were quite serious, these Scottish pros. You have to, when you come to caddy, you don't go out and look for golf balls. No way, you buddy caddy. So I'm in there, and their kids are fighting. I'm a little curly-headed guy, big fighting in it. And all of a sudden, the clubhouse door opened of the old clubhouse, and all the caddies said, "Bud Johnson," and they all ran out through the thing into the bush. And I'm sitting there like that. "You come here." "Yes, sir. You're going to caddy for me today." "No problem." And I could tell he'd been drinking. So he goes in and he brings out a goddamn bag this big full of clubs. It's bigger than me. And oh, Jesus. So I thought, oh, well, that's about it. So then wait a minute. He goes in and gets a case of beer and he's put these in the, I got to put now 12 beer in the goddamn thing. I drag it down the first hole. I drag it down to the second tee. And then I said, to myself, I got to lighten this. So I said, "Would any of you gentlemen like a beer?" 4 beer. And then you go up the 4th hill. I got rid of 4 more. And finally I made it, and he gave me 50 cents. Oh boy. And then you know what he said? He came up to me and says, "Son, you did a good job. You're going to be my steady caddy." Oh no. But, so anyways, but I got even with him because I caddied for him. And, but when I became a member at 16, I'd play golf and I'd beat the hell out of him. I like that. But then what you could do, the golf clubs, 50 cents is all caddying, but I made my way, I'd saved up my 50 cents, I made my way to New Westminster on Front Street with the secondhand stores, and they had golf clubs there. But, you know, I mean, they didn't have buses like now, they'd have 1 bus a day. And that's how I would get my clubs. But I remember I needed a 5-iron called a mid-iron. And I'm looking in the window, and there's cobwebs all over it. And I said, that looks like the club. I can make my set. I goes in, I pulls it out of the bag, and the bloody shaft was like this, all warped. Damn, so I never did get one. But I still have them. I still have all my golf clubs. I bought wooden shafts I played golf with, and my bag I paid $1 for. I still have it. So and then as I got older, well, when I graduated in 1951, I worked at the golf course steady for 4 years on the greens, and we walked everywhere, and we made our own flag sticks. We made our own brooms to brush the green. We made our own rakes and switches to switch the dew off in the morning. And we punched the greens by hand. You know, now they got a machine and they sand it all by hand, you know, with these things. You know, and then you move, and not only that, but you know how we leveled fairways? We'd get a turf cutter. We'd turf cut this wide. Then we'd roll it up, and then we'd take it to the side of the fairway and pass and stack it up. And then we had an old tractor with big steel wheels, with corrugated wheels. And Mr. Caddy and Mr. Burslem, they were the kinds of assistants. And we had a big scoop shovel. And my job was, they'd start the tractor, boom, 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 smoking. And then you'd go and get you'd get the mounds, and then you'd run up and then you'd get a hollow spot and you'd put it up and then you'd run back, do that all day. And then after you level it, then you'd have to put the turf back, of course. But I always remember Manny Gill. Like, I think it took me 1 year before he even let me top dress the greens because he was so particular. He was so comical. Because what we do, we'd have pails. We wouldn't use any fertilizer. What we would do, we'd rake the leaves. We'd pile them up every year in a different pile. And then what we would do to fertilize the greens, we would get the leaves, mix it with soil, throw it on a screen and screen it. Okay? And then of course, we'd take it to the greens and had a pail, aluminum pail, and top dress the greens. That's how we do that, and it was fun. But you know, it was so. I'll tell you this one. One day, and we had an old shack, and we go up there one day, and he says, Joe, he says, the toilets are plugged in the clubhouse. He says, oh, I said, oh, that's too bad. He said, yeah, but we'll have to find a septic tank. Eh? We'll have to find a septic tank and see what's the problem. I said, sure. So he goes and gets these cryptic glasses all wired up, and he gets a map, like treasure. I said, what's that? Well, I'm trying to find it. He says, I think I know where it is. So we go out, and he gives me a big steel pole, and he took one too. I said, what do we do with this? What we're going to do is we're going to go around, we're going to see if we can find the thing. So, okay, so we go there, 2 hours, boom, boom. I hit something. I said, Manny, I think I hit something because it's all bush. Okay, so we get a shovel, and sure enough, that was it, big, heavy planks. We uncovered the planks, and then I go to lift it up. I can't lift it up. He said, oh, I'll do it. So I'm looking around. He lifts it up. He said, don't look in there. I said, why? Guess what? It was full of condoms floating around the top. I'll never forget. And they were all funny looking there. And then, okay, so we pumped them out. So that's what their golf course was years ago. You know, but then, you get bored playing golf. Or you can't. But that's no kidding. So.
Caught on fire too, didn't it?
Pardon?
Didn't it catch on fire up there?
Years ago, my oldest sister, God rest her soul, she worked at the old clubhouse. In fact, and one in the middle of the night, one time there was somebody smacking at her door at the house on Austin Road there and my dad gets up and the clubhouse is on fire. So anyways, I'm little, I didn't do anything, so. But he runs over, and of course, he can't do anything. It burnt down. My sister's crying because she lost her job at the club. And so that's what happened. And by the way, I've got a picture of the women's opening day at that clubhouse in 1927. I got one. So those are the things that happened. And I carried for guys like Bill Ray, CKNW, Cop the Shoe Man in New Westminster. Who's that other guy that had the machine shop, big machine shop? I catered for them all. And then, as I say, I couldn't be a member until I was 16, and then I'm still a member now. And then I used to play golf with them. And that was a lot of fun. And in fact, they did a story about me at the golf course. And of all my, I have it. They just did it last year, of all my time at the golf course, like as a member and that. But Coquitlam was cool. And you know what? When they started to develop Coquitlam, the lots, guess how much the lots are selling for? $150. That's no kidding. And I bought a corner lot at the top of, right across from the church at the top of Marmont, right up at the school for $400.
When was that?
Well, I guess I was about 19 or 20 years old. Yeah. And like the school I went to, like Helen did too, was called Central School. You know where the liquor store is at there used to be at Nelson? And
Nelson.
yeah, that used to be the grade 1 Central School, grade 1 to 6. And then where Rona was Coquitlam High School, went to grade 12. In fact, I was the last to graduate from that school until they went up to the other one, on Winslow. And Mr. McVeigh, he taught me in probably 9, 10, 11, 12. And his wife, Olive, she taught me grade 1. But they weren't married then. And that was really cool. And Mr. Mowat, in fact, I think they named a school after Mowat, one out there in Abbotsford or something. Yeah. Oh, he was so funny. No kidding. The stories are unreal. Like one time, when there was a kind of we had to put a bunch of chairs. There was some sort of a thing going on in the gym, and it was raining out. And he had these boots on, big rubber boots, and he just like he used to have a mustache, and he looked like Hitler, going around there. We were doing it, and we were going, yes sir, Heil Hitler. It was so funny. But you know, I'll always remember this time. This guy, Henry Hofseth, one of my friends. I guess we're in grade 10 or 11, and the office was down below in the bottom where he was, and there used to be room 10 or something up at the top. And he had this tree that kept growing and growing, and it was right outside the window. So my friend, he went out and climbed it he climbed out the window and got on a tree. I said, "What are you doing, Henry?" So he disappeared. The next thing you know, there's a knock at the door. Mowat comes in. I'm sitting by the window. He gives me shit for shaking the tree. I didn't want to squeal on my friend, and I wondered where Henry went. And then Mowat he went down to the office. Guess what? There were 2 doors to this room. Knock at one door. The teacher goes there. Henry comes in the other door and sits down by me. Nothing happened. Oh boy, I'm telling you, that was weird. We used to have a lot of fun like that. But I was saying, when we played hide and go seek, we'd climb up 150-foot trees. In fact, this is no kidding. One time when we used to have bonfires then, you know, because you clear stumps and you'd light fires. And from Austin down to Rochester, there was no houses. Maybe 1 or 2, maybe down in Rochester. And during the summer, it was all ferns, dry bracken ferns. And we had a fire one time burning stumps. And me and my friend, of course, I go and get some paper, sticks, put it on, we caught the goddamn thing on fire. We burnt the whole goddamn thing right down. No kidding. We burnt the whole thing. And I got the hose out just to protect our house, but it was unreal. But it was like that. One guy, he almost lived in Rochester. He'd holler, and he'd swing up all the trees right up to our house, play with us.
Like Tarzan.
Yeah. And there was 2, and you know, during the war, you could get into a show by putting a piece of aluminum into a bin, because they needed aluminum for the war effort, okay? So what we would do, there was 2 big dumps, ravines, one by, you know, one.
Dr. Perry's place?
One by the doctor's office there.
Oh, Marmot.
Yeah, no, not Marmot. Dr. Gaines' office, or Ben's.
Oh.
And then there was another one,
Gainsbury.
and we used to go up there and
Gainsbury.
we'd collect all the pots and pans, and then we'd store them at home.
Oh, they're done.
And you know what? There's lots of bears,
Yeah.
and we used to have slingshots. You'd make your own slingshots, And you know what we do? They would all go to the dumps, the bear, and we'd be at the top shooting at them. Because when they tried to get us to see all the cans and that, they couldn't get anywhere. We'd shoot them and laugh.
I had to walk that.
I know,
myself.
Helen had to walk. There were two huge dumps, one by,
Where Dr. Perry went.
Yeah.
Dr. Perry was the one.
oh yeah, I'll tell you, it was so much
The
fun.
dump on the other.
And, but,
Did the bears ever get anybody?
oh, well,
Well, they'd make a noise, you'd hear all the cans rattling, and you'd look over, when you're going to school, and you see
No,
them
the
down
golf
there, but
course.
They were more interested into the garbage.
oh, there was a lot of bears on the golf course. Oh God, yeah.
Wow.
I remember one time there was a robbery. Oh, I remember one time I go to work one time, and the manager of the golf course, his name was Mr. Beck, the old clubhouse, and he had a police dog, for protection. You keep him there. And I goes there one time, and I see the cash register out in the parking lot. I went and looked. Mr. Beck is tied up, and the dog's eating a big piece of meat. So they should give him some meat, and he, yeah. And then the police came with a dog, and we couldn't find it. So I said, look, I'm going to hide on that dog, see if he can find me. And I knew this big stump. So I said, give me some time. I went and I climbed up this big stump, hollow stump. And the dog, I'm watching the dog, he comes in, and by God, he knew I was there. And I'm yelling, help, help, to get the dog away, because he was going to get me. And right now, see, there's about 5 or 6 coyotes at the golf club all the time. They're resident. What happens is I got a golf ball. I'll show you one time, boy, from a coyote. I drove on the 14th hole. He came out, took my golf ball. On the 16th green, there was a golf ball. It was mine. You should see it all chewed up, unreal. And but there's always about 4 or 5, 5 or 6 coyotes there all the time at the golf course. And what happens? They have new ones, the babies, and then the other ones go, and the little babies grow up, and they rotate, and the other ones disappear. Because if they all stay, there'd be hundreds there. They're unreal. But so we've got photographs to show you, if you wish, golf clubs photographs, and of all our stay there, and the first pool, I guess, was we used to go and swim at Cobble Lake. We'd build rafts, but it was all like peat. But you know what? I'll tell you, frogs. You can't find a frog around here now. Years ago, as you drove up, like my dad, as you drove past the
Gatensbury.
Gatensbury, coming, there was thousands of little frogs jumping across the road. And you couldn't help but run over them, and you could hear them crackling as you ran over my dad. You couldn't do anything, and now there's none. And snakes, and when you surround the golf balls, you had hands and knees at the golf course, there'd be snakes all over. Now there's none. There's none. And it was a great experience. But I still have the golf balls, still got my golf clubs. And when the pro, Don Sutherland, he lived in Walker Road, right up by the golf course, and his wife passed away first, and then several years later he went back to Scotland, and we went to visit him, me and 2 of my friends, because we played golf with him all the time. And we went to Dornoch, Scotland, northeast Scotland. It's beautiful. We played, and he had the number. They gave him a number 1 apartment right on the golf course, And when he passed away, we went up there for 2 or 3 weeks to play golf with him and see him. And then when he passed away, he willed me all his old golf clubs and books. You should see them, they're unreal. And he was an excellent golfer. But Coquitlam is cool, man. And you know what? There was Austin Road went up to Monday, and it only went down to the right. Was it Monday? It didn't only go down to the right, and that was a long ways. And there was this family was called the Kugler, and they had, guess what they owned? A Rolls Royce, and an old one. Even when you're a young kid, and it had headlights like that, and you could see it coming at night. You knew who it was, because it was a huge headlight. There's a Cougar, yeah.
Is that the one with the Democrats?
No, the Democrat. No, that was a Harrison or something, Garrison.
We used to hitch a ride from school. This lady had a horse and buggy.
Yeah, who was it? Was it Mr. Pops? Oh, you know, one time when I was a little guy, a bunch of pigs were in the yard up that when we lived. And there used to be a little, right where the doctor's office there by Gatonsbury, okay, down the bottom, there used to be a farmer. Well, it wasn't a big farm, but he had a shed and he kept pigs. Well, they got out and they came all to our yard. Guess what? My dad, he put me on one of the pigs. He gets a shovel and all the, I rode back and they got down, took him back and they got, no kidding. I'm riding a bloody pig. Jesus. Yeah. But I'm telling you, it was cool. And, yeah. Oh, and we used to play games like Stinkhole. Have you heard of Stinkhole?
No.
Stinkhole was a marble game, and what you do, you'd make 5 holes, and just just in the ground, and if you can get if you had to get your marble in every one of the 5 holes, then you're free to shoot, and any marble you shot after that were yours. But then everybody would shoot your marble, you get close to Stinkhole, and they'd shoot your marble away. And this, yeah, but they don't play it anymore. But that's what it's called, Stinkhole. And they were to play marbles, and but the teachers were good. Yeah, and. But I'll tell you, we've got all that, pictures. What's that?
Kick the can.
Oh, kick the can. We used to kick the can.
Another game.
And we used to roast a lot of potatoes get them all nice and black and roast them. And hide and go seek, we used to play that. But it was fun.
Yeah, it was.
And
you put 2 cans on your feet, remember?
oh yeah.
Clobber all over the place.
But I don't know how you ever made it up and down to school. That little, when you have to walk to school every day. And it seemed like when you got out of school, everybody worked either at the distillery, or Fraser Mills, or the Pacific Veneer, or the Cordage. And I worked at the Pacific Veneer. I worked summers and weekends. Then when I graduated, I started at the golf course 5 days a week, and I worked for weekends down at the mill. I kept my job. But you know what happened? And I had lots of money. But what happened, one time I was cutting the greens during the week, and guess, my boss, weekend boss, he comes down playing golf. I didn't realize I hadn't stopped him more. You working here? I said, yeah. I said, how are you? Yeah. You know, you're not supposed to have this. That's for school kids. So I had to quit, but at least I worked an extra year down there. And then, they used to Albert D. Care. That's an old name. He didn't have a job on the weekends, and I said, "Why don't you get it?" Because his family worked at Fraser Mills, Albert D. Care. You know, he said, "Why don't Joe?" He said, "Because he didn't like the initiation. What they'd do, they'd tar and feather you and throw you in the goddamn water." No kidding. And he was afraid. He was afraid to get a job there, and I don't blame him. You know what my initiation was? I was feeding the dryers one time, and the boss came, or one guy came up and says, he said, I'd like you to, there's a corrugated road wheel. I'd like you to go and get." And he told me where to get it. I said, "Oh, sure," but I knew the corrugated road wheel, come on. So I spent about 2 or 3 hours, and I said, "I can't find it." I knew. It was just a joke. There's no that was my initiation. But that's where you worked, boy. You worked at the mills, or the cordage where they made rope, and the distillery, and you could get a job anywhere. But not now, boy. Oh boy. And I've got all my stories from the golf course, and of course Helen, you know, you've been around. We got pictures of her when we were going to school. We've been married 57 years, and we went together 5 years before that.
Remember we used to go to Dr. Perry's open house church?
Oh, Dr. Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah, up on Austin there.
No, Linden.
Oh yeah,
Linton Avenue. It was nice. It was in a ravine, and it was really nice. And he had like, I climbed a fence one day, and I dislocated my arm. So my mom says, "Oh well, let's go see Dr. Perry," because it was the closest.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the hospital then. And so I went to see him, and he pulled my arm and put it back. It was really...
Talking about a doctor, you know, the only doctor around here then, well, I didn't go to Dr. Perry, was the one at Fraser Mills. You know, his name was Dr. Cannon, and he was the Fraser Mills doctor. And I remember my mom going down there. And
My mom did too.
yeah, Dr. Cannon, and he was a resident for Fraser Mills, the doctor.
We had to walk down
Yeah.
from
And,
Austin all the way down to Fraser Mills to see him.
and you know, I'll tell you a funny one. My mom, I was going into grade 10, and my mom said, "Joe," she said, "if you want to go to university, you got to take a language." And it was French or Latin. That's what you. I said, "Okay, Mom," but I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to please her, so I said, "Okay." So I signed up for the French class, grade 10. Guess what? The French school only went to grade 9. Then they had to go to the public school, and I'm in there with all these French kids. The French teacher, she was having a ball, and I was like, "What's going on?" All I knew was Laporte and Lafille, whatever that is. Close the door and open the door, and I took off. I spent one class, and I quit. I quit that. You know, I quit that. That was so comical, but they were good kids. And what we would do, and there was all 10, 12, 13 in the family. And you don't say anything, you know, if you don't say anything because you say, "That's my turd cut and removed," I'll hit your dog on the ass with a rock. You know, it's like one guy, he said, my brother-in-law got a good job down there in Quebec. I said, "What does he do?" I said, "Well, what does he do?" And he says, "What's that horse with the 2 assholes?" I said, "The mayor." "Yeah, he's the mayor." See, they were more fun. You know what? We used to build a house every year. We took what it was. At the high school, there's a lot of people. They didn't like the academic part, but they wanted to get into vocational. So one year, when the announcement was that we're gonna have a vocational class, like for lumber grading and tiling and woodwork and metal shop, And Mr. Moe says, okay, everybody wants that class, line up here. And no one's lined up. He says, well, isn't it? What? So all us guys. So we went down and we took it up, and it was cool. And yeah, so that we took lumber grading, tiling, and woodwork and metalwork and the whole. And what we would do, we'd build a house every year. We started out with building a bus shelter, and then after that we'd build a small house, and we'd build everything in it, plumbing, the whole 9 yards, and then they'd take the house and sell it as a summer house somewhere, because it was on blocks and that. Yeah, that was good. But boy, those French kids, they'd run up on top of the house and fly like Spider-Man out there. They were really good. Yeah, and Boutots, all French Boutot, and Rainy Boutot. Yeah, his uncle was the one that was giving us the lumber grading. And then what we would do, we'd do the theory in the school, and then with the practical, we'd go down to Fraser Mills, and they would have all this lumber on the, and then we'd grade it. We'd have to grade it, of course, and then they'd get marks as to how good you did. But Mac Urett, this here was where the manager of the mill used to reside, and Mr. Mac Urett, he was the manager, one of the early ones, I guess, and he was a member of the golf course, and I caddied for him, and then I'd play golf with him when I got older. He was a very good golfer, Mac Urett. Yeah. And then of course, there's a lot of other older, the Lockens, Henry Locken, and a lot of, but they all had the French, well, all the streets are named after them. And they were nice people, the French. They were good kids. We had a lot of fun together. And so, that's basically, there's lots more, I guess, but you got any questions I'd like to ask about?
Sure. Did you know each other in school? Did you go to school together?
Well, I used to see her wandering around, and she was cute. But then I was a golfer. I was golfing. In fact, you know what happened? I was golfing in a junior tournament at Marine Drive, and I think I was one off the pace. It was a two-round tournament, and I was playing with the Doyles, Bernie Doyle and Bob Doyle, and Benny. And after the first round on a Saturday, my friend Henry said, hey, there's a couple of girls babysitting. Let's go and get some beer and go down and join them. I said, no problem.
A little drugstore.
And anyways,
Up in
I did
Hudson.
that. So I saw her, and then I never went to play golf the next day.
We were
You cost me a
babysitting
tournament.
Rebecca's,
So-
little girl.
So we just went together for 5 years, didn't it? 5 years? We were married 57 years, but we went together for 5 years before we were married, right? Yeah. I went back to, when I was
Calgary.
20, I guess, I went to Calgary as an assistant pro. But oh God, the weather was terrible. I just won one season there. I'm back here. Terrible there. So then, and she waited for me. So,
True love.
the thing, we've been married 57 years, but you can shoot and kill somebody when you get 25. I don't even get parole.
Oh,
But,
no.
but I'll tell you, and we remember the boardwalk here, oh boy, because it was all water. And I got to tell you this, the house we're in now, it's up just Macintosh and Cottonwood, just off Blue Mountain, a couple of whole from the park. And this guy on Blue Mountain, he had the 4 lots for sale. And of course, we know the area, so I looked, and because we were living on
Howie.
no, on our first little house when we got married.
Oh, Winslow.
Winslow, we're in 106 Winslow. So, well, we're going to have a family, so we thought we'd buy a lot. And he had these lots, so I bought one for $2,000. And we're still in the house. We've been in there about 46 years. And then we had $14,000 to have the house built, and it's a really nice house. It's really nice. So anyways, I used to go up and take a look at the lot. And one time I go up there, and one block down, as you go down Blue Mountain, there's a house there. A house. What the hell? How'd the house get there overnight? Guess what? It was one of the old houses from Fraser Mills. And I got I got a photograph of it. And yeah, and what happened in the last year? The person sold it, they demolished it, and they built a big new brand new house there. But I got the old photograph of that house. And you see, it's right from Fraser Mills. And then I'm going to take a picture of the other one when it gets finished too, and then for posterity. But God, I said, where'd the house come from? And they brought it up. Now that house must be way over 100 years old. See, the golf course is 100, so it's 102 years old now. And I remember there was a gentleman, C.C. Smith. He lived in a beautiful house right across from the 6th Ferry, just on top of the hill, about 3 houses this side of the top of the hill before you go down Austin. And it was kind of like an old big peak house, white. And he used to, I remember when I was up caddying and that, he used to wear a suit all the time. He was a real estate man from New Westminster, but he lived out here, C.C. Smith, Charlie Smith. And he saved the golf course because we couldn't pay taxes. I remember years ago, and he paid the taxes to save the golf course. And no one knows that, but I do. Yeah. And it's awesome that. And when you caddy there, and you didn't take lessons then, you go and learn by yourself. Now there's academy and lessons. You go, you watch people play, and you tailor your golf swing. The wooden shafted club, the wooden heads, and it was a lot of fun. I still got the golf balls. I got the clubs, and.
What about Blue Mountain Park, that little park we used to go
Oh God, yeah, the Blue Mountain Park, when they had the baseball games there, I used to go and get all the they used to have quite good ball there. And I used to get all the balls as they, knock them over the fence on the back, like the foul balls. I think they'd give me a nickel a ball or something.
And the swimming pool, we'd go into that.
Oh God, the swimming pool, when they first got that there, it was cold, of course it was cold, and they put lime in it. Lime to keep it, lime. Throw it in the bottom of the bloody lime, maybe slipping on the lime.
And all the needles would fall.
Oh
and
yeah.
all
But it was better than nothing.
Yeah.
And, Millardville had a good baseball team. Yeah. I know, I can't think of some of the names, early names, but I mean, but they were.
Lavender, he played golf.
Yeah, but.
We have about 5 minutes left on this tape. Maybe
Cool.
we'll ask a bit about May Day celebrations to round off this tape, and we could put a new tape in. Do you guys recall May Day at all? Being a
May Day?
celebration? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A May Day?
Yeah, the May Day
we did
celebration.
Oh,
May
yeah,
Day
May Days
pole.
are cool. Yeah,
We
yeah.
did-
In fact, some of our friends were
Jenny
May Queen. Who was
Christmas.
that one?
What was that?
The May Queen. Remember you mentioned the
Oh,
other day?
Alice Burson.
Alice Bursum. Yeah, she lived in Walker Road. She was She was a May Queen,
Maybe.
and I remember, yeah.
Jimmy Christmas, didn't he run
Oh,
it
Jimmy
or
Christmas,
something?
that's at Christmas Manor. He was the mayor here years ago. And I always remember one police, Constable McGarry. That's the only, I think they only had one then. That's all they needed. Constable McGarry, yeah. He was a good guy. But it was fun. I'd do it all over again, I'll tell you. I loved it.
So what would they do at the May Day celebration?
Pardon?
What would they do at the May Day celebration?
Oh, it was a big event. Oh, they'd have
Big
poles
ones.
up there, a whole pile of them. You know, and you'd in fact, I used to be in it. You'd have to.
May Day
And
event.
you'd twine them and make a design with the ribbons.
Maypole, yeah.
Oh yeah. And
And
you
then they
know,
go
and
to
you know
the
another thing is, years ago,
Nice.
what they had was the Chinese people had these Model Ts with the open back, and they'd go around selling vegetables and fruit from to door. And what we would do, one guy would jump on the back of it and throw all the stuff out, and we'd get it and take it into the bush.
My grandma used to
You know,
give
I mean,
them
it's
tea.
bad, but that's what we used to do.
My grandma used to give them tea.
I-
Give them tea. She got to know them really well, and she'd give them a cup of tea every time they come. She'd buy her vegetables and that from them.
Yeah, and you'd sell Liberty magazine. That's a magazine. It was called Liberty. Either deliver papers or do those. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was cool stuff. It's just funny how you
They'd
could.
have a dance at the school on May Day. They'd have a dance after
Oh yeah.
at the Centennial
Yeah.
School.
I remember the Doyles. I remember they had their drums, and they had a little walk up, I guess, into the gym in the Central High School, and he would have he'd play the drums, and somebody would play a guitar, and Bob Doyle. Yeah, the Doyles are still around too. Yeah, it's cool, boy. I'd do it all again.
We've got just a couple minutes left. Either we can go to another tape, but we never did get your story on your nickname.
Okay. Now, okay. Everybody had a garden. You'd have fruit trees and a vegetable garden. And my mom, we're out. I always helped her. I was the youngest. I was helping dig her in the garden, and I looked up at her and I says, "Hey, Mom." She, yeah. I says, "How about you? I'll call you Bill and you call me Joe." It's okay, Joe, and that's how I got my name. That's how, because we're digging, I think, beets or something out or planting. Yeah, picking weeds.
Why Joe?
Why,
It's just something I thought about, and that's why everybody called me Joe Don.
That's what, your mom can't give you a nickname. It's got.
No, I gave myself I says, you call me Joe and I'll call you Bill. Okay, Joe. I said, okay, Bill.
It was so funny. I was introduced to him as Don, and I goes to his house and everybody's calling him Joe. So I thought,
She didn't know I had
that'll
an
be it,
alias.
Joe. So I started calling him Joe instead of Don.
But yeah, my mom was born in Liverpool and Dad was born in Wales. And he could sing, boy. They used to have house parties all the time. Good house parties. Christ, I remember one time the Burians, oh, God rest his soul, he died in the war. But his dad. We're having a house party and somebody come over and Mr. Burian fell down the stairs because he was stoned. My dad ran over and I ran over with him, and Dad gets him and he gets his head on it. I could hear a click, neck, and I feel okay now. Oh, geez, I said, what? Christ, I'm telling you.
Wow.
But we could have fun. But now it's different. Let's go. Thank you, sir, for doing all this. But if you want photographs or anything like that, or see what we have, boy, I'd love to show it to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, in fact, what happened is that the Channel 11, the one time in the last 2 years, I guess, the guy came to our house with a photographer. He said, I understand you got some old stuff here. Yeah. So he came in and I was on TV like that. I didn't even ask. And I showed him all the golf clubs and that. And he was,
All your trophies.
yeah. But see, years ago, see, that's the thing. See, years ago, what happened to Columbian paper? You remember the Columbian paper?
Yes.
Now, what happened is they had a guy there, I just forget his name right now, but I played golf with him. He was a reporter. And he used to put everything in the paper, what happened to the golf course, which was cool, gave us some exposure and stuff like that. Don Cannon was his name, Don Cannon. And I used to have all the clippings at home and everything because I used to cut them out. But it was so funny one time. He was a pretty good golfer, but he came in one time and I'm in the pro shop years and years ago, of course. He said, I just shot 64 on the golf course. That's a record. Yeah, I did. Who are you playing with? Because they need, some confirmation. Oh, he said, I was playing with a guy from California, but he left. Oh, sure, Don. Yeah. That didn't, he didn't. But